Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are taking a look at the Tier 5 British battleship, the Iron Duke. And yes, I know I've been showing a lot of the British battleships, but this is going to be the last one for a little while, because I'm currently working on the Iron Duke to get up to the Queen Elizabeth. Now I'm having to quickly make this video because my parents decided to show up unexpectedly, so I'm quickly recording this before before I can hang out with them. So we are playing on neighbors. We have, as you can see, 5 Iron Dukes: a Belfast, York, Leander, Galley, Omaha, Kirov, and a Gade. On the enemy team, there is also 5 Iron Dukes: Pensacola, Fiji, Cleveland, Graspe, Bojoni, Furutoka, and a Mutsuki. Now, we did spawn on the far northeastern side of our map, and we are playing Standard Battle, which I'm not a big fan of, because it really does kind of allow campiness, which I kind of understand, because you really sometimes don't want to force your have your forces go quite far away and then take a while just to get back in case someone does start to cap you out, because unlike World of Tanks, it takes you a while just to get anywhere, especially if you are a slow battleship, which the Iron Duke is not known for speed. Speed's not terrible, about 22 knots, is a little bit faster than the New York, but it is still very, very slow. Now, the Iron Duke, for whatever reason, I think it's more due to the fact of her potential of being placed in Tier 7 battles, can be somewhat of a problem. She is not bad. She still has that good fire chance. She's fairly tanky, not probably as tanky as the lower tiers, but she has decent armor, but she does tend to burn quite a bit. That's probably one complaint about her. Now, another complaint, and I'm already starting off with the negatives, but we'll get past the negatives, and then we'll talk about the positives of the ship. Like I said, she's not terribly fast, but she's not terribly slow. Her turrets turn incredibly slow. That's probably my biggest complaint about her, is the rotation. Turret rotation is extremely slow. It's about 54 seconds, I believe, something like that. So it's very, very slow. The shell dispersion can be a bit wonky at times. It doesn't seem like it's very, very tight. Now, granted, this is also a lower tier, and we do get a fire on that Bajani, and I automatically do have AP next in line, just in case I can get a Citadel on this Bajani. And that's probably another bad thing about the Iron Duke, is sometimes her AP seems a bit wonky. Sometimes I will have those beautiful Citadels, sometimes it just does not want to work with me. I think it's more, in fact, due to the fact that she's there at about 5k. Don't quite know where it landed, but I think the dispersion plays a big factor, and for whatever reason, the Iron Duke's dispersion can be extremely wonky at times. You can have those nice salvos where they're super tight, but obviously a battleship dispersion is quite terrible at times. So with that taken care of, we're actually going to go ahead and push in and possibly try to take out this Bajani, but I think this Bajani is going to go down fairly quickly. Now, the enemy team is pushing quite heavily on the western side. You can see, at least on the mini-map, there is a Cleveland, Pensacola, and I believe a couple of the Iron Dukes, as well as the Queen Elizabeth. Or sorry, no, not a Queen Elizabeth, what am I saying? But there are some of the Iron Dukes heading out west. So the enemy Bajani has gone down, and for whatever reason, our friendly destroyer has gone all the way on the eastern hand side and is offering no spotting, which is not good, because right now I have no idea what's around here. I don't know where the enemy destroyer is, so this is not something you want to be doing when you're a destroyer. You're best at offering spotting. Now, yes, it can be extremely dangerous. You can always get outspotted by the enemy destroyer, which in this case would get outspotted by the Hatsuharu, but you're still there offering spotting for the bigger guns, the guns that can actually punish a ship if they are seen. Now, the Fiji is spotted, and looks like he does run aground, which is unfortunate for him, but unfortunate for us because we're actually kind of behind an island, and all we have is HE. Now, shots off at the Fiji, and we might get one. There we go. Got a hit and caused a fire. Now, that's a good thing about, obviously, the British battleships, is their HE is fairly powerful, has a good fire chance, and also does significant amount of damage. So that is the good thing about their HE. The only downside is the reload rate is slow. It's actually about average. It's actually about the same rate as the Congo, 30 seconds. So I mean, there's not that big complaint, but it can feel very, very slow. But watch this turret rotation. Watch how long it does take to get these guns turned around. This is one thing I don't like about it, is the fact that it does take a while for these back guns to get turned around, because this is actually a very, very similar setup as compared to, say, the New York, where you have essentially 3 turrets facing backwards, and that middle turret is very, very limited on its firing angles. So you do have to show a little bit more broadside. But look at the concealment, 12.5, which is pretty nice. Does allow you to remain undetected and actually disappear if needs be. This is probably one good thing about the British battleships, is the fact that they have this very low very low concealment, so you can sneak up on enemy ships whenever they were outside. Obviously 12.5. And fortunately, we just got hit by our friendly Bajoni. Yeah, I'm trying to get around this island. Unfortunately for him, well, he's just gonna be continually sailing straight in a line. Yeah, we're gonna be rubbing each other off for quite a bit. And man, that sounded so wrong when I said that. Did not mean to make it sound like that. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get past this island. And as you can see, the entirety of the enemy force is over at the western hand side. And they're not really taking advantage of it. As you can see, almost our entire forces is in these islands. And we do have a few ships there, but for the most part, we're all kind of clustered over here. We do have that friendly Gade. I really don't know what he was planning on doing, but he is rushing this Iron Duke. We'll see if he gets lucky. I kind of doubt it, because this Iron Duke is going to at least pull away. I just don't see him actually getting torqued by this Gade. Once again, this Gade is rushing in. And we're getting fires. Looks like torpedoes might land. Looks like he does get 1, 2. There we go. Is this Gabe gonna survive? Yes, he does. Good for him. Alright, so that's taken care of. Now, this is kind of harkening back to the days of these low-tier battleships, is you really need to be in a good position, because the Iron Duke, as I've mentioned before, is a very slow ship. And you have to be in these positions because her range doesn't really benefit her. She actually has one of the smaller ranges of the tier 5s. So you do honestly have to be in a little bit closer just to ensure that your guns can actually reach target. And obviously, as you can tell, there is a Fiji that has just dropped torpedoes, and there is 2 smoke screens, which is probably meaning that the enemy destroyer is around. Now I was hoping to get a shot off at that Fiji, but unfortunately the islands are going to prevent any coverage. And yeah, as you can see, the enemy force is now pushing in towards our cap, and this is not where I really wanted to be. So we're gonna see if we can focus on this Pensacola. Pensacola would be nice, but unfortunately we do have HE. I'm going to go ahead and drop my load off at the enemy Iron Duke. And that time, yes, I meant to make that sound wrong. Sorry about that. Fire. See, this is, like I said, this is the really beautiful things about British Battleship. It's just that HE does pretty good amount of damage. And I think, yep, right there. that friendly Iron Duke just got a Citadel on that Pensacola with HE. So the enemy forces are pushing into our cap. And let's see if we can get a Citadel on this for Taka that is starting to turn up broadside. Citadel would be nice. Oh, there we go. 2 Citadels, 1 kill, and 1 devastating strike. So like I said, the AP is finicky at times, but it is doable. Still can get those Citadels. Still can do pretty good amount of damage. But at the exact same time, it's not always reliable. I think it really comes down to that dispersion. So with that in mind, let's see, there's that enemy Fiji. He has been a downright pain in the butt for all of us. I would like to get rid of him. The Fiji actually just took out our friendly Gade, which is unfortunate. So let's see, shots off at the Fiji. I don't think they are going to do a massive amount of damage, only around 3,200. So not the worst, but it looks like the Iron Duke is still pushing in. We also have a Cleveland pushing in as well, and I want to focus them down as quickly as possible. HE is almost reloaded, and let's see if we can get another fire on this Iron Duke. Enemy forces are pushing quite heavily into our base, and it doesn't seem like we have a very solid internet connection as we slowly lose connection. There we go, finally back in. And yeah, you just really do have to be careful with the Iron Duke, because showing a lot of broadside like any ship, you can get Citadel. Do have to be careful about that, but as usual, always angle when you can. Main target right now is going to be that Cleveland. He is obviously in cap and is starting to cap us out. So let's see. HE is loaded. I would like to have AP. And this is kind of the thing about the British battleships, is especially these lower tiers, it really comes down to what ammo type you have available. Because if you don't have AP and you have a broadside cruiser, you can't have that potential of getting a Citadel doing massive amount of alpha damage. Instead, you have HE that can cause a potential fire. But this Cleveland is obviously getting hammered away and is currently focusing on us. But let's see. Let's see if we can get a Citadel on this Cleveland. And I remember the days when Cleveland used to be extremely difficult to Citadel. And instead of a Citadel, we got 2 penetrations, and 1 over penetration did about 11k. So overall, not too bad. That Cleveland does go down in a fire of glory. So that is 1 less cruiser, and it doesn't look like the team's going to be around for very much longer. And let's see. There is that enemy Fiji, and I think that Graspe is going to try to run away. And unfortunately, we have just lost an enemy, a friendly Duke to the enemy Duke. Let's see, shots off at the Fiji. It looks like he is smoking up. So he's probably so low on health right now. I have to say I like that water splashes if your shots hit the water instead of where you're aiming at. But right now, it's kind of quiet. There's not a lot of ships around. The closest one is that Fiji and that Graspe, which I don't think's really particularly been helpful. And this is just kind of the thing about the Iron Duke, is she has good damage potential. She really does. That fire chance is so fantastic that it's a good ammo type to have. But at the exact same time, APs can do just as well, and almost even better, because AP damage is non-healable. Well, some of it is. But fire damage, actual fire damage, is fully 100% repairable. And that's the only downside of, obviously, of using HE and getting fires, is if a battleship is able to actually pull away, he can actually repair that fire and live a little bit longer. While AP also obviously does more significant damage and doesn't always ensure that they will be able to heal. So that's kind of thing I don't like about always using HE. Now, probably the one other downside is, as you can see, the Iron Duke only has 2 consumables. They have the damage control, and it has the repair party. And the Congo, for example, actually does have a spotter plane, which is actually really super beneficial because it does allow you that additional range, but at the exact same time, it does allow you that additional range as well. And that's kind of what I think the Iron Duke is kind of lacking, is that additional range. So, yeah. Right now, I just... honestly, in my personal opinion, the Iron Duke just feels kind of mediocre. It's not overly powerful, and it's not overly terrible. It's just kind of mediocre. It does have good HE. Its armor is decent. You still have that potential of being citadeled by other battleships. So it's kind of mediocre. It's definitely not as fun as, say, the Bell or the Orion. I had a lot of fun in the Orion. The Bell was pretty fun. So the Iron Duke, for whatever reason, just for me, it just seems like it does have a little bit more tougher time to actually get the experience. That's what I find lacking. Is most battles I've had, she doesn't seem like she gets a lot of experience. So I'm actually going to go ahead and speed this up a bit, because honestly, all right now is left on the enemy team is the enemy Iron Duke and the enemy Mutsuki. Now, the enemy Iron Duke is barely in range, but obviously he is trying to run away. He's very, very low in health. Our back guns are finally swung around once again. Main complaint is that back guns fired off a salvo with our front turrets. Let's see if we can actually land, and there we go. Caused a fire and killed number 2. So we are sitting at about 91k, not overly too bad at this low tier. Definitely would have liked to have broken 100k. Fortunately for us, unfortunately for me, for that fact, it's not going to be the case, because this Mutsuki is just out of range and he's going to go down. So we're actually going to quickly jump into the victory screen and then into port to take a closer look at the Iron Duke. So our team earned a victory. We brought home 238,972 silver, 3,336 XP, and earned 1 devastating strike. We did 91,552 points of damage, 2 citadels, 2 kills, and 5 fires. We are on top of the team with a base XP of 1,430. We did around 24,000 against that Fort Hakaym, which I believe is pretty much full health. Did around 7,000 against that Iron Duke. Around 16,000 against the other Iron Duke, and around 13,000 against the Cleveland. Damage-wise, main batteries, our HE did around 34, but armor piercing did around 42, and fires did a beautiful 14,481. So overall, not too bad. The guns can perform fairly well. They have a nice, at least as far as I can tell, they have a more straight, not spreading out in the vertical sense, but more in the horizontal sense, at least what I've experienced so far. But we're gonna quickly jump into port and take a look at her more closely. See you guys there. All right, everyone, welcome back to the port. And the Iron Duke, I'm still kind of finicky on her. She's not a battleship, as I've said multiple times previously. But she has her problems. She's good, but she's not good. So survivability, you're looking at 40,100. The Congo has 54,100, so about 7,000 points less than the Iron Duke. And at times you can kind of feel it. It feels like she does have a very high potential of being set aflamed. Maybe it's more due to the fact that there's a lot of British battleships slinging HE around than what you normally see, but that's kind of what I expect every now and then. Now, let's take a look at her armor layout, and you can see that the Citadel fits fairly below water. You do have kind of the spaced armor that you see in, say, French cruisers, but she does have these random edges, especially right here. As you can see, she has this citadel armor that actually sits a little bit closer to the outer edge, which can allow you to get a little bit more easily citadel. But the main armor belt, you're looking at 229. So armor is decent. Obviously, if you show a lot of her outside, you're going to get citadeled. Torpedo protection, 18%. Congo is 27%, so significantly lower. And you can feel it every time you do get hit by a torpedo, and it can downright hurt. So try to be careful whenever dealing with destroyers. Main guns, like I have mentioned, 5 dual 343 millimeters. They have a 30-second reload time, 51.4-second turn times, and this is with a Jack Dunkirk captain with the expert marksman skill on him. So that's reducing that turn time. So without it, it is, I think, in the 70 seconds. I might be a little bit off, but around over a minute turn time on the guns, so it is painfully slow. Max dispersion on the shells at 16.8 kilometers is 212. Max HE damage is 5,900, and chance of fire is 40%. AP damage, you're looking at 9,900, and firing range is 16.8 kilometers, as I mentioned. Shell velocity is 759, while the Congos, let's actually take a look at the Congos. Her HE velocity is 805, and her AP is 775. So overall, it's kind of nice that your HE and your AP shell velocity is the same, but for whatever reason, when the AP is fired, it does seem like it has a little bit longer hang time than the HE. So you do have to provide a little bit more distance when you're aiming than compared to the HE salvo whenever you fire. And I probably should go ahead and point out this is a fully upgraded Iron Duke. I am actually going to quickly pull those off just so you can kind of understand what to expect when you first get her. So 41,200 points of health is what you'll have when you first get her. Then looking at her secondary guns, she does have quite a few. You have 2 dual 102 millimeters. They have a 3-second reload time. They fire HE. Max damage is 1500 with a 6% fire chance, and firing range is 4.7 kilometers. And then you have 12 single 152 millimeters. They have an average damage, max damage of 2,200 with a 8.6-second reload time and a 12% fire chance and a 4.7 kilometer range. But as you can see, a lot of her secondaries are more clustered around the front of the hull, closer to the bow of the ship. So do keep that in mind when you are playing the Iron Duke, that you don't have a lot of secondaries in the stern of the ship. So be well aware of where destroyers are coming in. And destroyer captains, if you see an Iron Duke, a good position to come in, especially if you are coming in a little bit too close, is the stern. You do obviously have to watch out for the main battery guns, but if you can dodge those, or at least survive those, you should get your torpedoes off without too much of a problem. Moving on to AA defense, you have 4 quadruple 12.7 millimeter caliber guns. They have an average damage of 8 with a 1.2 kilometer range. Then you have 4 quintuple 40 millimeters. They have an average damage of 56 with a 2.5 kilometer range. And then you have 2 dual 102 millimeters, which were once your secondary guns as well. They have an average damage of 19 with a 5 kilometer range. So you can see at the stock hull of the Iron Duke that your mid-range is your best. Close range, it really falters with only doing average damage of 8. So your AA is not the greatest in the world, but this is a lower tier battleship. Moving on to maneuverability, the max speed of the ship at stock is 21 knots. Turning circle radius is 650 meters, which is actually really nice because you're allowed the tighter turning circle radius compared to, say, the Congo at 770 meters, but the rudder shift time is lousy, 18.5 seconds. Congo, is down around 14 seconds, which does allow that rudder to shift a little bit quicker and allow her to dodge a little bit easier. So do keep that in mind whenever you are running the Iron Duke. You definitely need to be well aware of any torpedoes as well as torpedo planes, because obviously you are going up against a Zuho, and that's not particularly fun. Detectability range by sea at 12.5, which is really nice. Congo, I believe, even with a 10-point captain, is 13.9. So you have a 1.4 kilometer range before you are detected by a Congo. So something to keep in mind. The Iron Duke's kind of a stealthier ship, and that's kind of how it is all the way up to tier 10. So always take advantage of that whenever you are playing the British battleships. Moving on to modules, the nice thing is we finally get aiming system mod 1, which does decrease your dispersion by 7%, as well as increase the range and dispersion of your secondary gun. So it is beneficial to get this. And as I've said before, I really wish the Iron Duke had a spotter plane. That would be fantastic, but unfortunately she just does not have it. The captain, as you can see, I do have priority target. I have expert marksman and also jack of all trades. Now my captain is Jack Dunkirk, which does have those better traits on the jack of all trades and expert marksman. So I get the increased turret speed as well as the shorter duration time on my consumables. Then I do have superintendent and concealment expert, as normally what you would see on battleships period. I probably will eventually maybe get adrenaline rush, maybe even work on the AA, because the higher tier British battleships do have very good AA, and it would be nice to buff that a little bit with some captain skills. But anyways, this is actually going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and if you like what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.